Hey there, my name is Tim and I am back in the test kitchen here at Pampered Chef. Have you ever tasted a dish that you just finished making and thought, something is missing? Well, the fact is that flavor is more than just something you taste with your tongue. It's more than just sweetness and sour and bitter and savory. It's something you smell. It's the aroma of your food. It's the texture of your food, the way that it feels in your mouth, the crunch. So today I want to teach you how to build flavor using the perfect blank canvas risotto. See, I love making risotto in the classic stovetop method because I'm there in the kitchen. I have that connection with my food. There are times when you need that quick and easy no-stir risotto or the risotto that you can make in your quick cooker. But sometimes I just want to hang out in my kitchen. For me, it's my favorite place to be in my house. So what I'm going to do today in this video is show you how to build the flavors of risotto using aroma from onions and garlic, using texture from the creaminess of the risotto and the texture of breadcrumbs, and really show you how to build those flavors together. Now, to start building the flavor of my risotto, I'm going to start with aroma, specifically the aroma from an onion and garlic. These are the kind of things that you don't just taste on your tongue, but you really smell. You know, flavor, actually the things that you taste, is about 80% aroma, 80% smell. That's why it's so important that you have these things built into your dish. You know, a lot of people, if they have allergies or when you're sick and you can't smell anything, you think nothing tastes good. And that's why is because you can't smell anything. So onion and garlic are almost always going to be the basis for any dish that I'm going to create. They're actually called aromatics whenever you're writing recipes or working in a kitchen. All right, I'm adding salt to the onions to draw out the moisture. This will help cook the onions a little bit faster and remove any of that water. Onions have so much water and water doesn't taste like anything. So when these onions cook down, all I'm left with is the aroma from the onions and the sweetness after they've cooked for a while. I also have 2 quarts of liquid simmering away, kind of getting ready and hot for the risotto. I'm gonna make 2 cups of risotto, so all I need is 2 quarts of liquid. I'm not using a recipe here because I don't want you to focus on a recipe. Focus on building flavor. So we have that bitterness and that sweetness and that savoriness and that sour, that acid. That's the kind of stuff that we're going to focus on when making this risotto. The next thing that I'm going to add to the onions is a little bit of garlic. It's so important. I think garlic works great in risotto. It's filled with aroma, filled with flavor, and it also is one of those things that isn't part of the taste family, right? It's not part of the sweet and sour and bitter. I always, if I have the time, like I do today, I add the garlic a little bit later after the onions have sweated down for a while because the garlic won't take that long to cook. Let's say about 2 cloves of garlic will be perfect for this risotto. This is exactly when you start to understand how flavor is so much more than taste, is when it fills your whole house with the onions and the garlic. It's amazing. So at this point is really when making risotto starts. You've got aromatics sweated down and soft and tender. And now we're going to start building even more flavors and adding the rice. I've got about a tablespoon of butter that I'm going to add to this pan. And then I'm going to toast the rice. The rice will be coated in the oil and coated in the butter, and I'm just gonna cook this for like 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes. You're gonna start to smell this nuttiness from the rice, from the arborio rice. So while the risotto is toasting, I'm gonna add a few other elements to help enhance and deepen the flavor of the risotto. One being fresh thyme. Fresh herbs are a great way, and such an important way, to add that aroma and flavor to your risotto. The other thing I'm going to add is a little bit of sun-dried tomato. This is where I'm going to get that savoriness from the tomato. It's going to really deepen and enhance all of the rest of the dish. Okay, the risotto has been toasting now. I've got thyme and sun-dried tomato in there, and the smell in this kitchen is amazing, which means it's time to add liquid. The very first one being a little bit of white wine. This white wine is going to add a sour, an acid, a brightness to it that we're going to taste, but it's also obviously going to have so much aroma to it. You know, this is the kind of thing that really adds depth to your risotto, to your dishes. When people say that when they're tasting wine that it has flavors of grapefruit or apricot or apple, they don't mean that it tastes like that. They mean it smells like that. So whenever you're adding wine to your dish, you're also getting those smells in your dish. So I added just a little bit of brightness in the white wine, not a lot. You can add as little or as much as you'd like, maybe a half a cup at the most. Now is when we start adding stock. 1-2 ladlefuls at a time. And I'm just gonna let the rice absorb that liquid and cook down. This is the best part about risotto, making it on the stove, being in the kitchen, is that you're really connected to your food. You can't really walk away and do something else because you want to be here to stir the risotto, to make it rich and creamy. The way that risotto works is that there's this starch on the outside of the rice. Whenever you're stirring the risotto, you're knocking off all of that starch, adding a rich, creamy flavor and texture to your food, to the final dish. You know, there's a lot of mythology, a lot of fear about making risotto. People think it's super complicated. Every reality cooking television show has risotto as this big, terrifying challenge. But the fact is, it's so simple. The real challenge is building in those flavors, adding that savory, that sweet, that sour, that aroma from thyme and onions and garlic. This, stirring, adding broth, it's really not that scary. It's really not that complicated. And the best part is, you have time. You have time to be in the kitchen. So what I always like to do is turn on a little bit of music, make a cocktail, have fun with it. Just be here and be connected with the food. One of my favorite things to do is take a really simple cocktail and grab some of the herbs that I'm already using in the dish to make a really special cocktail. So I love a whiskey sour. It's part of the 2-1-1 family of cocktails. It has 2 parts whiskey, in this case bourbon, 1 part of sweet, simple syrup in this case, and 1 part sour, or lemon juice. So what I love to do is add a little bit of fresh thyme to a whiskey sour. It becomes so much more deep, so much more flavor, so much more aroma to it. And to do that, I add a little bit of fresh thyme to the cup of the shaker, the large cup, and my simple syrup. This sugar is going to extract those volatile compounds, those aromas in the thyme. And with the muddler pressing into it, you're really going to get some tremendous flavor. And you just do it enough so that you can smell the thyme right where you're standing. It doesn't take that much time. Then we've got 1 part of sour. So for this is going to be lemon juice. Here we go. Since I've got a little bit of time in the kitchen, I'm going to do 2 ounces of bourbon, 1 ounce of lemon juice, 1 ounce of simple syrup. And that should get me through a whole recipe, a whole time of making risotto. See, this is the stuff that I love. Just being in the kitchen, stirring a little, making a cocktail for a minute, hanging out and just being here. This is the fun part, right? All right. My 2 parts bourbon. All right. Then come back with some ice, a little for the shaker, some for the glass. Here we go. Beautiful, fresh thyme, whiskey sour. garnish with a couple of sprigs as well, so that every time I lift my glass to my mouth, I can smell that fresh thyme. And now we're cooking. You know, this cocktail, this risotto, it's the perfect example of how food can be greater than the sum of its parts. It's more than just rice with some salt, with some onions. It becomes something greater. Think of it like a burger. A burger is so much more than just some meat and a bun with condiments in between. It's the meatiness from the burger, but it's also the chew from the bun, the crunch from the lettuce, and that sharpness from a little bit of mustard, the fattiness from the mayonnaise. All of that together is what makes a burger taste great. Building flavor is about finding that central point where taste, where aroma, and where texture meet. Right there in the center is flavor, and that's what we're gonna do with this risotto. Okay, so this risotto has been cooking over medium heat about 15-20 minutes. And another thing that I love about risotto is that you can taste as you go. So if you're not sure if the risotto is done, just give it a taste. It should be soft with just a little bit of a bite to it. And it's perfect. Now we're just gonna finish it all up. I've got some spinach here because I want just a little bit of bitterness from the spinach, right? I just want to add that color as well from the greenness of the spinach. Just let this wilt down and it'll add that extra layer of flavor. Then, Parmesan cheese. You know, I love a lot of our tools. I get asked the question all the time, what's your favorite tool? My answer is any one that gets people to use ingredients, fresh ingredients, that they might not otherwise. So our graters are perfect because so many people, so often, they resort to pre-shredded cheese, they resort to canned cheese. But having a tool that just makes it easy to add fresh ingredients to your food is so important, and it really, really helps. So plenty of Parmesan cheese for that savory flavor that you get and that richness. In fact, a little bit of butter also helps kind of round everything out. But we don't just want that fattiness, that richness. We want balance, right? So I always use a little bit of lemon zest as well. This is going to add that aroma of the lemon. It'll add a freshness to it as well. You can just finish it right at the very end so that it doesn't cook away, so that it feels that brightness from the lemon. And now we're ready to plate it. You want the risotto to kind of move like lava when you're stirring it. It's going to be liquid, but still kind of hold a shape. So when you drag your spoon across, the risotto should still come back together. Check that out. So maybe you need a little bit more water if you feel like it's still too stiff, and that's okay. Risotto you can play with, you can manipulate right to the very end just to make sure that it's absolutely perfect. I'm telling you, it's not as scary as you think. It's not as complicated. You've totally got this. Risotto. It's got the bitterness from the spinach, the acid from the wine. It's got the savoriness from the tomatoes and the Parmesan cheese. It's got the sweetness from those onions we cooked down right at the very beginning. But it's more than that. It's creamy. It's rich. In fact, an easy win to add texture is breadcrumbs. This will just add a little bit of crunch when you sprinkle them on right at the end. I've toasted these in the microwave for just a minute with a little bit of butter, a little bit of thyme, a little bit of lemon zest, and whenever someone dips their spoon in, they'll get that tiny bit of crunch. Cooking doesn't just have to be a means to an end. You can enjoy the process. So settle in, get connected to the food that you're making, and maybe make a signature drink just for the occasion, and find a new appreciation for being in the kitchen. If you like this video and you want to see more, subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out the rest of our videos. I'll see you soon.